With John Mauldin. He is a best-selling author. He's also president of his own investment firm, Millennium Wave Advisors. He works with Altegris as well. That's a $2.5 billion alternative fund manager. He is with us from Dallas this afternoon. John, I know you're working on a book, actually, on employment, on tax cuts. So I want to ask you, what do you think the likelihood is that President Obama, first of all, does get his wish, does get these payroll tax cuts and or extensions in, and then what that means for business, John?
I think it's likely they're going to get done because both sides want to get done. They're just haggling over how it's going to get, what the mechanism is. The Republicans want it paid for with spending cuts, and I think that at the end of the day is probably the likely way that it'll happen. It's $120 billion. If they can't find $120 billion in spending cuts, then, we're in real trouble. They need to find something closer to 12 trillion. So that's a 1% down payment.
One of the reasons, John, you're working on your book right now is because you feel like a lot of people in Washington don't understand how to create jobs. You feel like you have some insight on that.
Well, people don't understand the enormity of the task that we have in front of us. We've really wiped out 8 million jobs. We need to be creating 125,000 jobs a month just to stay even. If we want to get back by 2020 just to where we were only a few years ago, we're talking about having to create 250,000 jobs a month for 6-7 years. Well, we've never had an economy like that at all. So what we have to do is really pull out all the stops and make it as easy as possible for new businesses to create jobs. Because at the end of the day, when you net everything out, it's new businesses that create the growth in jobs. Now, some of those new businesses have become Google, and you've got a lot of employees, but the reality is most of them are mom and pop operations, smaller operations that grow into medium-sized operations.
John,
and we have so many regulations on the book, so many things that make it difficult. And I'm not talking about Wall Street regulations. We have things that make it difficult for angel investors to find new startups. Why should a new startup not be able to say, I want to start a business, and I'm going to post my business idea on the internet, and if angel investors find me and I get money, then I can begin to start. Today, if that was done, the guy would have done something illegal and could be subject to fines and criminal attacks.
Well, we do know there's some legislation being considered to allow new companies to get more money from angel investors.
They've been considering it for 5 or 6 years. They need to do it.
Right.
I mean, good God, it's so obvious, and there's times when you just want to go up and choke people. It's like, let's make it easy for people who have good ideas and people who have money to get together. This is the age of the internet.
Well, John,
we should. I could just start down the list of. We should let anybody that wants to buy a house should be able to get a green card. You buy a house for cash, you get a green card. Bring 1 million people in. We're bringing them in anyway, but for a year, instead of bringing in relatives, let's bring in people with some money who will buy a house.
John, before we stray,
I know you
could talk forever, but I want to get some of the points on. Bringing up just what you're talking about here, this gridlock. A lot of people that we speak with say, okay, if the European crisis was this year's big pressure point, next year could be gridlock, right? These are two big themes contributing to the macro pressures, continuing to contribute to the instability and the volatility in the markets. So I'm just curious, for the average investor out there, does it matter, John, if the volatility is caused by one-up explosions, such as the failure of Lehman Brothers, which we saw in 2008, or does it make a difference if the volatility is coming from these more structural issues, whether it's gridlock in D.C. or a European crisis?
No. At the bottom of what an investor has to recognize that we're in a period of volatility, and everything is going to be moving the markets up and down. The manic number of moves, and by manic I mean more than 1%, is at an all-time record by almost a magnitude. So we just have to get used to that and recognize that as investors, we need to be focused on shorter term. I want Fixed income. I'm going to bring my duration rates in because we don't know what Europe is going to do. Europe is still key to the future of this country. If Europe gets its act together and we don't have a banking crisis, then I think we can avoid a recession in the U.S. If we have a true banking crisis along the lines of 2008, we could have another recession, and that's a completely different investing scenario.
John, we're going to have you back.
Fixed income, alternatives.
We are going to have you back because I know fixed income, real estate, part of what we need to pick up the conversation with you on another day, because we just have to bring our viewers here some breaking news. John, we know hopefully you'll come back with us another day to finish that thought. S&P